Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Crypto Novus, where newbies become masters. Again, my name is Chris Brown, and I'm your host for this morning's episode. And it's been an exciting morning on a number of different levels. But the title says it right there. Bitcoin spikes over 16K. So this is a great article that's on bitcoin.com. We'll come back to this in a second. Um, Before we get into the technical analysis, if you like the content of this video, please by all means hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. So let's kind of jump into it. If you've been in the crypto space and you've been following Bitcoin's price action, you know that we have been in an ascending triangle. And you can kind of clearly see it here on the 4-hour chart. I'm going to kind of just blow that up by itself for a second and then put on the RSI and the MACD. But essentially, for those of you that are new to the space, and this channel is geared towards you, what we had was an ascending triangle. Bitcoin had rallied up here since the beginning of November around the 3rd. It rallied up high, came to a high of 15.9. That was the first touch point. Then it retraced back to 14.3, which formulated the bottom. And so it's from there that you then start to do an analysis. This horizontal line represents the different touch points that Bitcoin had at this point. This line is drawn at about 15.8, and you can see from the candlestick wicks, it spiked past it initially. It came down and touched it once, twice. This is the third time. Clearly here at the middle, on the 9th, it touched it. And then yesterday, it was just knocking at its door very, very strongly. It wicked up past it up to just under 16,000. It was at 15,995, I think, is the top number. Came back down and touched on this ascending line here, which hence the name ascending triangle. Horizontal line, vertical, and the hypotenuse. It's in this area that Bitcoin makes a decision on what it's going to do. And you can kind of see, it's easy to see it when you're looking back, but as you're going through, it's a little bit more harder to notice it. But on this ascending point, it touched on this point here at 14.3, again at 14.8, a third time at 15.1, and a fourth time at 15.4, almost 15.5, before it continued to shoot up. Yesterday, I was watching this on the 15-minute time frame because I wasn't sure what it was really going to do. And this is the activity yesterday, right in this little area here where it wicked up. Then it came down strongly to the 15.5 level, wicked up again, came back down strongly, and then it went horizontal for a while into the late evening. And so I wasn't sure if it was going to come back down again and try to hit this diagonal line is the bottom of the triangle, the ascending line. And I had a feeling that it might come down to here one more time, but it didn't. So basically what happened, around 11 o'clock last night after I went to bed, it started to climb up and it came up again to, 15.9. And it did so at around 11:45, came back down only a little bit. And then in the morning around 2 o'clock, it worked all the way up to 16.1. It immediately, though, came back down and almost touched on this ascending line. Depending on where you draw it, it did. It came down to 15, let's say 15.6, then shot back up to the 15.8 support line, and then it's ascended continually up. This crooked line right in through here is the 50 EMA, and so it once it protruded past the 16,000 mark and came back down, it hovered around the 50 EMA. And that's kind of what, that's a marker that I'm using and I'm very comfortable with. Other ones use different EMAs, but I'm liking that one as a measurement. So it came down here, touched on this again, and so right now it's hovering at 16,148. But and so it's showing good support in that level. If we bring back the RSI and the MACD, so the question is what does this information do for you as a new one in the space? Clearly, if you wanted to buy Bitcoin before the 16,000, you needed to buy it yesterday and the day before yesterday when it was doing all of this testing. Yesterday, when it came down to the 15, here it is. When it came down here to the 15.5 point, that was a good time to really make a purchase right in through here. And there still may be that time. It may drop down below. I mean, if it comes back and tries to touch on the 50 EMA, you can get it maybe at 15.8 if it decides to do that. Looking at the RSI and the MACD gives us some idea as to where it may go from here. So right now, the RSI, when it peaked, and this is on the 15-minute, let's go back to the 4-hour. That's a better time frame to look at this with. So on the 4-hour, we can see right now that it is beginning to peak beyond the 70 mark on the RSI. And essentially what this means is that this is overbought territory. Relative strength index, as it continues to climb further up on the RSI, you can get into the 80s, the buying power becomes weaker, and there's the possibility of a sell-off. And we can kind of see an example of it back here when it first established this high peak as it was approaching 16,000. RSI was hovering here at 86. And then as we can see here on the Heikin-Ashi charts, candlestick charts, when it came and crashed down, not crashed, but when it came back down and retraced to 14.3, we can see here that on the RSI, it had come down to about 45. So right now, the thing I'm looking for is, will it retrace back down to around 45? And if so, what would it retrace to? Here's the ascending line that has been this, the stabilizer in the triangle. Now that we've broken out of it, I'm not going to pay as much attention to it. I'm going to start to look at what does it do relative to the 50 EMA. I don't think it's going to come back down to 15.1 or 2, although it might. I think it has a better probability if it's going to retrace to come back down to either the 15.5 point or the 15.8 is my guess. But I'm going to watch the relative strength index to see, what direction it's going to go in. The other thing I'm going to watch is the MACD. And right now, obviously, the 12 has crossed the 26. These are EMAs as well. And I'm going to watch these green markers versus red, and whether or not the 12 decides to cross back over the 26. If the 12 crosses back over on the 26, like it did back in through here, there is the indication of a downtrend, and there could be an opportunity to buy at that point in time. With that being said, let's kind of take a look at some of the articles that have been written about what's going on to give us a little bit more insight so that, you guys, as you're planning your strategies, know when is the next good buying opportunity for you. If you're not doing some purchasing, if you haven't purchased already. So, as the article says, Bitcoin spikes over 16, the RSI levels warming up, which we talked about the RSI being above 70, and then price retracts for another attempt. So it talked about when it dropped down into the around the 15.4 range and went up. So let's kind of dig into a little bit to the article itself and see what's going on. I think a good thing to note is that this statement that the entire crypto economy is up 2% and valued at around 446 billion. I think that's a significant point. The other significant point is the reason why this 16,000 was such a big deal is that the last time Bitcoin was at this range was on January 6th, 2018, and relative to its 2017 all-time high of just under 20,000, gives us a strong indication that, hey, we are back in some serious territory for Bitcoin in terms of price action. In terms of overall investing, this is a nice key point. Bitcoin is up more than 80.898% year to date against the US dollar. And in the last 90 days, the asset is up 35%. In the last 30 days, if you had bought Bitcoin back in October, you would be up 39% in the last 4 weeks. Significant. Now, granted, there's always the other side of the coin, and so there's a little bit of concern of, price retracement, and there's going to be some. One thing I would like to say at this point is not to get overly concerned about it. I mean, when Bitcoin does its strong surges, especially if it's parabolic, there's going to be a retracement. That's when you get into the Fibonacci charts to try to understand where it would retrace to. So I would say there is an expectation. The question now, though, that's in everybody's mind is, how high will it go before it retraces? And there are a couple of target points that, other analysis have done. That's something for us to kind of take a look at and put in the back of our mind as we invest in the space. First bit of information along those lines is right here in this paragraph. If Bitcoin consolidates above the 16,000K handle, some traders expect a real crash or retracement after that point in time. What specifically? Right here. In this tweet of this particular guy, push it past the general consensus bullish target, say 16.4 to 16.7, is where this individual thinks that it could peak before it retraces. There's another article that pushes it a little bit higher. And that article is this one. It's the article in Forbes. It was written yesterday afternoon. And what it did is it challenges the fundamentals of whether or not it could have, in fact, pushed through 16. Well, it did. But as we look at the contents of this, there was an interesting section as we think about going forward, and it's down here. If you notice, when I go to the charts, and I'll bounce back real quick, up through here, there are different time frames, starting with 1 minute and going to 1 month. I typically stay on the 4-hour time frame or the day. Sometimes if I want to dial in, I may go into the hour time frame or into the minutes if I'm in the position of that I'm really wanting to trade. This particular article goes and uses the 1 month time frame. And this is actually kind of a good one to take a look at real quick. As a side note, you can kind of see, where we're at. I mean, here are the markers, here are the candlesticks, if you will, for Bitcoin, back in 2017, where it was up, it got to 19. This is reading about 19.5. It was actually a little bit higher than that. But you can see, in the month time frame, how things have retraced back. This is the 50 EMA, and we're sitting right here. I mean, it's an exciting time. RSI is strong. It's up just under 70, but it has more room to grow. And the 12 has crossed the 26 on the month. So what they're saying here, and let's take a look at the Forbes article, is that on the monthly perspective, Bitcoin now has very key resistances ahead before price actually challenges for a new all-time high. Of course, they're talking about the 20. In fact, technically, Bitcoin finds itself within a relatively wide range of 13.9 to 17.1. So what that says to me is that the price could go as high as 17.1 before it retraces back. So again, something to consider as you're doing your own investing. So as I begin to kind of conclude this video, Bitcoin isn't the only asset out there to consider. So one of the things to look at is what's beginning to happen to the altcoins. So this surgence is going to have some impact to the altcoin market. And so what we've got here is Bitcoin's at 16 again. You've got Ethereum. It's looking at some resistance at around the 470 to 475 levels. And XRP is looking at some resistance at around 25 to 26 cents. So what this is saying here is in this paragraph here is altcoins are doing their own consolidating at this point in time. And the ones that they're listing here is Ethereum. You've got XRP, Litecoin, EOS, XLM, Link, BNB, Tron, Bitcoin Cash, and ADA. Good old Cardano. So let's take a look at what they're doing a little bit. It says here Ethereum is showing positive signs above 455 in the 460 level ranges, which is true. The initial resistance for bulls was near the 465. The first key barrier was really 470 and could actually test the 480 level. So we could possibly see Ethereum go as high as 480. I'm going to be doing a video, another video on Ethereum later on this week because they've given actually a date that was earlier in the week for Ethereum 2.0, which that community is very excited about that, and I kind of want to share some news on that. As we skip down and go to Bitcoin Cash, Linked, and XRP. Bitcoin Cash I'm not really a big fan of, and I'll kind of explain why in another video, but there's a strong community in that space. And then I believe on the 15th, they're looking for a hard fork to happen. So there's a lot of conversation regarding that. But its price action is staying at, around the mid $250 per unit. So 255 to 260. Says that might increase up to 270, 275. I had some Bitcoin Cash, sold it, bought some Bitcoin, and I'm glad I made that choice. Chainlink, which is strongly connected to Ethereum, it is showing, it's indicating here that it's losing some of its bullish pace, and is trading below the $13 range. For that coin, it's looking for a break beyond that point. So that's a price point for that to begin to watch. XRP, I'm a fan of XRP as well. It still says it's still consolidating in the mid 20s or 25 cent range, and it's looking to try to break past the 26 level and maybe as high as 27 cents per coin. To kind of wrap up this video, I did mention Bitcoin Cash. So since there's a lot of conversation on the word Bitcoin right now, I think Bitcoin Cash is something to just kind of tickle you with a little bit. The hodlers have begun to dump a lot of coin onto the exchanges due to this hard fork that's coming up on the 15th. This is it right here, Bitcoin Cash. Holders rush to exchanges this week, transferring more than 250 million onto trading platforms ahead of the hard fork. So the hard fork here is coming in around November 15th, a few days away. So this is something to watch to see what this is actually going to wind up doing to this particular asset. So that really kind of concludes today's video. Again, I hope you got some good information from it, and it kind of opens your eyes a little bit as to kind of what is happening in the space. Again, my name is Chris Brown. I'm your host. This channel is primarily for newbies to the space. I got into the space back in 2017. Been around it now for 3 years. Done some investing, and I remember what it was like when I first started. I really didn't know where to go and who really to trust. And so I just kind of want to put together a channel that is for people, since a lot of new people are coming into the space right now. And so I'm putting together this channel to share my thoughts on the different assets within the space, which ones I like, which ones I don't like, and to try to give you guys good, sound information so that you can formulate your own investment strategies and make sound decisions based on good education. So again, My name is Chris Brown. This is Crypto Novus, where newbies become masters. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.